down and write in my journal, I almost always use like purple or blue or, you know, a regular darker colored pen, but for whatever reason, like I couldn't even start writing until I had a green pen. So I got out a green pen, and as I began to channel the message, I was like, okay, why the green? And they're like, because green is healing, it's earth, and it's heart chakra. So it's all of the green, and I really needed to channel that extra green. So I was using the green pen to do that as well. And what I kind of got out of it is we're all being asked to be active in release. And I'm going to write this, I'm going to kind of cheat off of my notes because it was just such an important message today. So it says we're being asked to be active in releasing the healing power of the divine. Okay, our power, so all of us that are seeing this, you're seeing this on purpose, and so know that this is part of like your soul mission, right? Is to hold space here on earth and help people get through the process and all of that. But it's been really interesting to me lately how prayer has been so important. And like I've always been somebody that prays, but like getting very specific and focused and like having an intentional prayer has been something that's really been weighing on me lately. So it's because it's been more of a, like, I'm specifically praying to do, you know, for whatever, like I'm specifically praying for entities to be cleared or be released or whatever. So it's all about the power of intention and understanding that. So the exact line that they gave me is, our power lies in prayer, manifestation, and direction of thought. So I feel like the key part of that is where we direct our thoughts and where our words speak is what we create and manifest, right? So it's really important right now to be in a clear space of understanding that what we're speaking and what we're, what we say, what we think, all of those things create, okay? So, and you guys know the last few messages that I've given have been all about not having any fear, knowing that we're moving forward, like something is still coming, and I'm going to get to that because that's where some of the stuff that Jim helped me kind of process through. Anyway, so when they were telling me that about the releasing the healing power of the divine, and you know, there's been this theme of something's coming, but we don't really know what it is. And so I was trying to ask a little bit about that, like, what is this that is coming? Because they keep telling me not to have any fear, but we all know something's coming. And in like the last week, I've seen about 4 or 5 other, one was astrologer, but other intuitives who kind of are in the same realm, so to speak, have said, you know, something big is coming, the storm is coming, so to speak. And the vision I got about that earlier was like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with like when a pond turns itself over, all the gunk kind of comes to the top. So all the sludge and everything kind of comes up, and it looks kind of gross on the top of the pond whenever it turns over. But if you're in, you know, any kind of environmental science or whatever, you understand that that's part of the process. Like it has to turn over so that all the junk can come up to be cleared. Well, what was interesting is what my guides were saying is that's actually like a metaphor. They were showing me the pond going, things are getting stirred up on purpose so that they can come to the light. So just know if you've got kind of a shitstorm going on, like it's kind of on purpose, because when the stuff comes to the top, it's to be released and healed, cleared away, or filtered. Okay, so that's the process in the pond. And then what was also interesting is I kept hearing today, it's always darkest before the dawn. So I'm like, okay, well, let's get this. So the other theme that has been going on for me a lot lately has been ancient wisdom. Like that little phrase right there. And those of you that I see that are on here that are in my membership group, you know we've talked about this a lot. And I've been saying, I don't really know what this means, but these 2 words, ancient wisdom, keep coming up. And so, and that and getting back to basics. So those 2 things together, the ancient wisdom and getting back to basics, has been coming up so strong for me. And some of that's been even like in the little things, like some of the clearing and stuff I've been doing, some of the work I've been doing. I went old school and went back to just like using salt, like putting salt at my front door and things like that to clear energy. Hey guys, I see more people coming on. And so getting back to basics and the ancient wisdom, and I know that it's connected somehow. So I asked my guides, why do you keep showing me ancient wisdom and back to the basics, and what does that mean? And they said that today it's really about understanding that we all need to get into this place where we can enjoy the present moment, right? Because we're so distracted by everything. So even as I'm trying to get this message, you guys, I was starting to feel my own frustration, because I'm like, why won't you just tell me what is going on, right? Because like they keep saying that the storm is coming and turbulent times, and we've heard all of these things over the last couple months. And I do, like, a couple of my girlfriends always laugh. They're like, you always get the messages way before, like 6 to 9 months before. So I really feel like that Mary Magdalene message I did in the spring is probably for now, because like I said, I've seen about 4 or 5 other people post that there's something, and one of them actually said the storm is coming. Another one said, I feel a huge shift, but I don't really know what it is. So Lisa's saying she's feeling it. Hi guys, I see people coming on, so I'm trying to watch the comments too as I go through this. So I'm glad to know somebody else is feeling it, because a lot of us are. The frustrating thing is nobody really knows what it is. Okay, so as I'm doing this and sitting in this space and trying to channel this message, I'm feeling myself get frustrated, because I'm like, you know, why won't you just tell us what's going on? And so my guides are like, just let it go. So I'm like, okay, fine. So I took a deep breath and I let it go. And I actually was listening to a meditation, that the music, because I really like meditation music, because it helps me kind of get myself in the zone, so to speak, especially because I had started this and then I walked away from it and went to lunch and then came back, and just I had some things took more time than I planned on, and so there was already that. And then I'm hearing like they're not giving me a straight answer. Okay, the storm is coming, the pond is going to turn over, it's going to look ugly. Okay, but what is it that's coming, right? So I'm feeling my own frustration as I'm trying to channel this message, and they're like, Jennifer, just let it go. So I took a deep breath and I said, okay, let's do this. So whenever I channel, I don't know if you guys can see, but you can almost see how right here, the way that I'm writing is different, because it literally feels like something shifts, and then that's when the message comes through. So I'm just going to read it and then explain it, and then hopefully we're all going to discuss it. And yes, Susan, I do feel like this is a big collective shift, whatever this is. So here's the message that they gave me today. In ancient times, people had to work together as a community to survive and thrive. The beauty of this was the connection of the human souls through love and concern for each other. People are too hyper-focused on outside influences at this time. Going back to ancient wisdom and connectedness will benefit the collective greatly. If each one person can fine-tune and connect to the task at hand, it will begin to rebuild the connectedness to all that is. And then when they were in this part of the message, they were actually showing me, like, one of the things I really like to do is cook. And so they were showing me, when you cook, experience the entire thing. Like, experience how are the, you know, the colors in the vegetables, and the smells of the spices, and the moment of actually just being in it, right? So when they're talking about rebuilding the connectedness, they're actually asking us to be present and be in every moment in a way that we're not right now, because we are so distracted, you know. And I know a lot of times, you know, cooking for me is one thing that I usually kind of detached, but a lot of times I will listen to YouTube or whatever, you know what I mean? So there is always something going on in the background. So they want us to savor every moment. Okay. It is a great event that will, and then as I got ready to write will, I kind of heard may. So I'm like, I don't understand, like, if I don't understand what this means, but I'm just going to say it the way that it was channeled. A great event will/may happen to awaken the collective, just as a great event awakens those close to it. And when they said that, I immediately got visions of when our daughter was in the hospital. Like, that changed perspective for us. I mean, completely. Like, so those of you that knew me, you know, a few years ago versus now, like, my husband and I are like footloose and fancy free. Like, we just do whatever feels good, because you never know what's going to happen, right? Somebody just said, yes, retrain. Yeah, exactly. Retrain yourself to be in the immediate moment completely. So yeah, be in the moment, you know? And then, so they were showing me that when our daughter was in the hospital, or like, you know, this is a sad kind of thing, but a death of a family member, that always makes you reconsider what's important, right? So like any kind of personal tragedy like that, anytime you have a great event that you're close to, you reprioritize, right? So in that moment, you're only there worried about family. You're not worried about your job. You're not worried about what's going to happen next week. You're not worried about anything else. In that moment, you're only worried about being there and enjoying the people that are there. So that's kind of what they're saying is a great event may happen to awaken the collective, just as a great event awakens those close to it. The time has come to awaken to the simple beauty of life itself. Open your heart to the universe. Open your heart to your neighbor. Open your heart to your family. Open your hearts to nature. Open your heart to the divine. You are being guided and directed. You will get through this if you focus on love. Okay? So what's funny is I'm like, I after I got done with this, I was a little bit frustrated again. I'm like, I don't understand the message that I'm supposed to give, because how do you tell somebody don't be afraid, but I have no idea what's coming? But they're saying be prepared, but only be prepared by being in love. Right? So like, we know this storm is coming, whatever that is. Like, and everybody's saying it around here that everybody in the intuitive world, I'll say, like, there's something coming up that we don't know what it's going to be, but I do know without a shadow of a doubt, because anytime I ask my guides, they're like, you just have to trust and have faith. So whatever this is that's coming, we have to have this faith and trust that it's all going to be okay. Okay. And I do have that, but at the same time, I'm like, I told my husband, I'm like, I'm just kind of frustrated because how do you give this message that they want me to channel this message and they want me to say, you're going to get through this, but they're not going to tell anybody what it is. And Jim was like, well, what if they're not supposed to know what it is? And what if the message isn't for everybody? And I'm like, dang, like that was exactly what I needed to hear before I did this live, because that's exactly the truth. Like, we don't really need to know the specifics of what's going to happen. We just need to know that whatever it is that's going to happen. So if there's a storm, like, we may not know that the storm is actually coming until the weather forecast goes off, and then we're like, okay, well, it's a storm. Well, you're not going to know what the damage is until it's done. So there's not a lot you can do about it. So worrying and freaking out and those kind of things are not going to help anything. But for those of us that get through the storm, they're saying that the way to get through it is through focusing on love. That being said, there it is. So, part of me was like, how do I give this? Like, I even asked Jim, I said, well, do I just, like, I want to be in that place where everything's fine and it's all great and it's all roses and that's great. But the reality is I'm still like human, and I'm like, I'd like to know what the heck's going to happen. Right. And so even I'm getting frustrated with it. So I guess that's the one thing that I want to put out there is, I think sometimes it's okay to be frustrated. And I think that's one thing, I know Michael's watching, and I know one thing him and I agree on is the BS fluff. Like, the people in the spiritual community, like, it's all this rainbows and roses and everything's so great. And that's okay. That's great if you can live in that, but that's not most people's reality. And so it's about being in a space of me being able to say, I'm frustrated even from the messages that I'm getting from spirit. And how can I even say that? Like, I feel guilty even saying that, because I'm blessed enough to be able to get messages from spirit, but I'm frustrated because they won't tell me what's going on. So yeah, rainbows and unicorns, right? And so anyway, I would love to now just kind of open it up and take some questions. I kind of almost feel like I want to read that again, just to kind of let it sink in. And then I'm just going to open it up for questions, because I feel like that's what I should do right now. So I'm just going to read this unicorn rosy farts. I love that. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to read the message from them again, and then I'll look at the comments and I'll ask or try to answer questions as best as I can. My spirit team is here with me. I asked them, I'm like, you guys have to be here because I need to be able to get through this. I also needed to get out that it is frustrating, because they're asking us to deliver this message. And I know I'm not the only one with this kind of a message. Like I said, I've seen it this week from other intuitives, YouTube, Facebook, all of those things. So I know it's there, and nobody really knows what it is, right? And some people are getting pissed off. Like, I saw one comment on an astrologer that I follow, and they're like, oh, he's just telling you this to get you worried so that you'll buy his app. And I'm like, I really don't think that's it. I really think there's a message that, you know, something's coming and nobody really knows what it is, and you just got to be in a place of faith to get through it. So here's the message just as it was given to me. In ancient times, people had to work together as a community to survive and thrive. The beauty of this was the connection in the human souls through love and concern for each other. People are too hyper-focused on an outside influence at this time. Going back to ancient wisdom and connectedness will benefit the collective greatly. If each one person can fine-tune to connect to the task at hand, it will begin to rebuild the connectedness to all that is. A great event will happen to awaken the collective, just as a great event awakens those close to it. The time has come to awaken to the simple beauty of life itself. Open your hearts to the universe. Open your hearts to your neighbor. Open your hearts to your family. Open your hearts to nature. Open your hearts to the divine. You are being guided and directed. You will get through this if you focus on love. So, okay, I see a couple messages now. Let me see if I can expand them. Okay, Andrea, I can't see the entire message because it kind of crops it out since I'm on the live, but it says, I've been getting a lot of messages around being present and letting go of worry and anxiety. Yeah, that's really the message right now, is to, let go of worry and anxiety, right? And Susan's asking how you can best help others now moving forward. I think the biggest thing that we can do for anybody, in any kind of a coaching role, because I know, Susan, that you're a coach as well, the best thing you can do right now is help people go within, figure out where they're not connected to source, or how they can more connect to their own divine source, and help them connect to that divine love, like within themselves, because it starts there, right? It starts with understanding your own limiting beliefs and what's keeping you small and what's keeping you disconnected and what's making you feel not good enough and what's making you feel in lack. Like, all of those kind of things are the place to start, because when we can understand, it's so funny. I remember when I first heard this, I thought, what? But this makes sense now. When we can understand this human condition that we're in, where we feel like we're so disconnected, but we're really not disconnected. It's all that forgetting, and it's all the programming and stuff that we have around lack and not good enough and being separated and those kind of things. So I think the best thing that you can do to help others is to help them go within, to connect within themselves. And just like, this guide said, when you can connect more fully to whatever you're doing, right? So whenever you can be in it, whatever it is, I think that is a big thing. Like, if you are, cooking, then totally enjoy it. Like, totally be there and enjoy the way the food smells as you're cooking it, and enjoy the way that the vegetables look at the colors, or whatever, because it's a different time of year, so everything's going to be a little bit different. She says, Susan just commented, I totally agree. It's hard work because some people are looking for a magic wand. Absolutely. People don't want to do the work. Like, it's so funny because even in my own coaching stuff, I'll tell people, you've got to be ready, because if you're not ready, you're not going to want to do it, and you can't be the victim. Like, that's the other thing too, is there's so many people still kind of stuck in being a victim of, well, this happens to me and this is how it always goes, and da 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 da. And if you don't understand that you have power and that everything that's in your life is kind of like, you can change it, like, that's a hard pill for people to swallow, to understand that you really do create your own life, and you can create it good or bad based on how you feel and what you say. Now, there's no magic wand. Just because you change your thinking doesn't mean tomorrow everything's going to change, because everything you built so far has a ripple effect, and it's got to go through that before you get to the other side. But I can tell you that changing the way you think and learning to be in divine flow and trusting the universe and going in those kind of situations, you've got to get through the nasty thoughts and the nasty little mean girl, I call it, or the negative thoughts in your own head to get there, right? And then you have to do the work. Like, you have to go in and figure out, where is it that I need to grow? Where is it that I need to do something different? And Michael says, living in the moment was one of the biggest lessons I learned in kidney failure. Hopefully you don't have to get to that point of kidney failure or somebody dying, or hopefully you don't have to get there. Hopefully you don't have to have that kind of tragedy to get to a place to where you decide, I don't want to worry anymore, and I don't want to have anxiety anymore, and I do want to live more in the moment, and I do want to connect with God or source or the universe or whatever that creator energy is for you. I think the more we can learn to dive into that and go deep within our own soul and connect to the divine, that's where it is. And Nikki's saying the victim mode mentality is a tough one to change. It is tough to change, and you have to have resolve, and you have to want it, right? So that's the other thing too, is a lot of people don't want to get out of victim mentality because it's hard. It's hard work. And to know and feel that you're responsible for everything in your life, that's a huge discipline, right? But we're being directed. Like the angels just said, you are being divinely directed. They are trying to give you direction on how to do this. Um, yeah, surrendering to the universe is a game changer. I'm so sorry you had to have a stroke, but you know, like you don't want to get to that point, you guys. You don't want to get to the point where something tragic has to happen for you to be able to get into this space. So I really feel like what the guides are asking us right now is to just every day practice being in the moment, being in the now, focusing on love. And that means loving yourself too, right? So like a lot of times people say, "Oh, focus on love," but that's like how do you love your neighbor? Well, do you love yourself? Because if you don't, it's really hard to love your neighbor, right? And if everybody's pointing fingers of who's right and wrong, nothing's ever going to get solved. So the best way to do is, and again, old cliche, if you're pointing your finger, there's three more pointing back at yourself. So whatever the situation is, if you're not happy with it or if you don't like it, what can you do different, right? Because the only power you have is within yourself. So if you don't like what's happening, what do you need to change to make sure that that doesn't happen anymore? Susan said, you're reading my mind. It's brilliant. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's really true. Like you have to be in that space to take full responsibility for your own self, knowing your own knowing. Yes, Lisa. And one of the things that I teach whenever I talked about connecting to your guides, like I do a course on connecting to your angel guides and really understanding that divine connection that you have personally, because everybody's connection is different. We're all going to feel it different. Excuse me. And it's so funny because I tell people you've got to get to the point where you know that you know that you know, without a doubt, right? And so that kind of faith is what's being asked of us right now. So anyway, I know there's always a delay on Facebook, so hopefully I got through any. Does anybody have any other questions? I'm so glad that I'm resonating. So thank you for those of you that are saying that yes, it resonates, and it's like she said, I'm reading your mind, you know that you know, and you do have to change for the good. So yeah, like so you want to change yourself, and even though that sounds weird, it does help the whole collective, because the more of us that can get in the space of being in the present moment and being in the now and actually learning to love ourselves, right? Because when you can love yourself, you can love other people in a totally different way. So you're welcome. I'm so glad you guys were on here with me. If you get a question that comes up later, just drop it in the comments and I'll try to check on it, because I felt like this was a really good message. I'm actually going to put it on a blog too, just to get more conversation out there. Again, I want you guys to know no questions are off limits. In the Embodied Grace community, we always talk about all of this stuff. So let me know if you have questions coming up. Let me know. Let's see. I just had another comment come in. Needed this reminder, a lot of chaos going around me. There's a lot of chaos everywhere, right? and that's just the way life is sometimes now. But I feel like when we can take even 5 minutes, right? Get in your body, take a minute to center, and just be in that place of peace for even just a couple minutes. Like that is really, really powerful. So try to be in the moment. Know that your guides are all around you, the angels are helping, and whatever it is that's coming, the best thing we can do is focus on love, and we'll all get through it. So we'll talk to you guys all soon. Bye.